My guest today is Lucy Davidson, a stop-motion animator based in Melbourne, Australia, with a passion for bringing stories to life through innovative animation techniques and diverse stop-motion styles. Now, one of her most notable achievements includes creating the award-winning music video Speak to Me for Pink Floyd, where she utilized pixelation, a technique that animates people and objects. Now, in 2023, Lucy joined the crew of Memoir of a Snail, the Oscar-nominated stop-motion feature directed by Adam Elliott, as a key member of the art department, contributing to set dressing and animation. Now, off the back of her very successful first professional placement, Lucy secured a coveted spot at the renowned Aardman Animation Academy, where she created her own short film, Baggage. And we're here today to talk about her incredible animated short, Baggage. So let's welcome stop-motion animator Lucy Davidson to the show. Welcome, Lucy.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you. And I have three words for your animated short film. And that is just wow, wow, wow. I
Uh,
loved it. It's one of the most original concepts I have seen in a long while. So first, how did you come up with the story idea?
yeah, it was kind of an amalgamation of different things. It was essentially, I wanted to tell a story about female friendship because my friends are so important to me. So I knew it was going to be these like women, female characters. And then I kind of thought, what's special about that relationship? And I thought about all the kind of girls' trips, girls' holidays that we'd taken together. And so I kind of tied that. So I knew it was going to be a girls' trip. And then I started thinking deeper about my relationship to my friends, and why that's special. Yeah, it was because we can be there for each other in those really deep moments, holding each other's baggage. We don't judge, we just love. So that was kind of the start of the film.
Well, and I loved it because by incorporating the baggage idea, checking in at an airport, as the girls, I just thought was so brilliant. I don't think I have seen a 5-minute short film that was as complete in the storyline as yours, and you packed a lot into it, no pun intended.
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge to pack in such a story for the 5 minutes short. I can't believe I did it. I don't know how it happened, but yeah, I'm so glad that it comes through and you feel it all.
Yeah, I mean, the baggage being a play on words in this film, as it's the emotional baggage that one carries with them. The airport setting was absolutely perfect, as it seems that our lives are judged by others, and we always feel judged when we're going through airport security anyway. And
Mm,
so I thought that was a great element in the film. And you had one bag barely overweight, but it's an
yeah.
element that society still judges us by our outward appearance, but also we can carry around a heavier burden that we're trying to hide from others. So the concept of this film is just stunning.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
So I mean, it must have been really fun to brainstorm this whole project, wasn't it?
Yeah, so when I started the project, I had no idea what the ending was. No clue. All I knew, I was like, these girls are going to start on the check-in desk. They're going to go through the airport. I knew they were going to get to security and something was going to happen, but I didn't know what that something was going to be. And it was definitely over my time making the project. Yeah, it was just back and forth, talking to people, getting ideas. And I think as well, the kind of little jokes about, going through the airport and you have a water bottle that you don't realize that liquid, and this is the emotional liquid, I suppose, that she was holding on to. Um, yeah, it
Well,
came to life on its
well, that's what made this film. It's humorous in a way while covering a very deep subject, and you use the element of the security checks and our bags, being X-rayed, and I looked at that as an element of judgment. So again, it's
own.
very original. But I have to say, because the brainstorming sessions you must have had for this film, especially with, um, first of all, well, let me ask you this. How long did it take you and your team to think of all the titles of the things written on the stuff inside the suitcase? And they're very funny, um, but they're very poignant at the same time.
Yeah, that was all me. I mean, I did get suggestions here and there, but there are, I guess I used a lot of my own internal insecurities. I kind of was like, well, what do I feel insecure about? And I just kind of, yeah, I wrote them all down. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
a lot
because
of
some of
me in
them
there.
were, yeah, because it was fun. Some and what was so funny was is like mistake up wipes. I thought that was
Mm.
original. People pleasing, control freak remote, bottled up emotions. The list goes on. And you even had something that I had to look up. You had a CD. It was ABBA's song
Ah.
SOS. Why did you choose that?
Yeah, I suppose in that moment that was trying to show after she's been examined and she's at her most vulnerable, there were kind of lots of different things that were just like she's in a distressed mode, but she wants someone else to help her, but she's not ready to ask for help. But her friends see that sign. But also I'm just a big ABBA fan, so. And while I was making the project, I was listening to plenty of like ABBA, Celine Dion, Cher, like all the icons. So they filter into my work.
Yeah, because I paused the film the second time I was watching it because I was wanting to read all the little things in the suitcase. And when you do that, you really start to understand that is not only the emotional baggage that we carry, but you had things in there where we would call ourselves names um like even calling ourselves an idiot at times.
Yeah, I think as well. It's like a combination of like that negative self-talk we have about ourselves, all those mistakes you feel like you've made in life. The way, yeah, it's kind of, I suppose that internal baggage is like the way you judge yourself. So yeah.
So how did because and again it's the combination that you put into this film. The girls are the baggage, you know, which goes back to that we are or all of us carry some type of emotional baggage. Uh, you added the slight overweight element to the film. Um, I know that women can be very judgmental upon themselves, but at the same time, because it's going through security checks, every single one of us feels like we're being judged, not necessarily in our look, but if we have a carry-on and it has to go through the X-ray machine, and we're always wondering, what are they thinking when they see my stuff?
Yeah, it's like, why am I being picked out? And definitely, yeah, that element, I think at the start of the film, that was really important to me as well. That's like a lot of women, you think about your weight and how that, affects you. Like, you don't want to be overweight. You don't want to be that person. And yeah, I think this film for her is a lot about acceptance and knowing her friends don't care about any of that stuff. They love her still. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was funny because that one security guy in the film is like, well, we got to do a bag check, and then it's almost like, let's take this person and then let's pick them apart because all the things that were in the suitcase is what we feel that we're trying to hide, but then there are
Mm.
other people that could be using those things to judge us with. So the element, that's the reason why I've not seen a film pack so much into 5 minutes.
Yeah, I definitely that was my intention to just cut that security guard at the end to make him like the most horrible person ever. It was just like he didn't care. He was a bit sadistic. He's like this is funny for him. And yeah, so yeah.
But I also loved it too because her friends had her back,
Mm.
supported her to the very end, and that was the shining light on this film because it just proves that it's so important to have friends like that in today's
Mm.
time. Have those you can be open with. They're not judging you. It's like having your own posse or your own gang in a way. that
Mm.
has your back, and you showed that.
Yeah. I think for me as well, a huge part of this film was opening up a dialogue about grief. Um, that, sometimes we forget that people are still holding on to grief, and that being yeah, okay to witness that grief for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the animation because I just loved it because there was so much there.
Mm.
And you chose black and white. And since you are the animator, how did you come up with the idea to do the stop motion animation and again to do it in black and white?
Yeah, so my whole project really came like the initial brainstorming was all drawing and illustration. That's kind of where I began as an artist. I love to just draw and doodle. So from those sketches, I was translating them, yeah, obviously into like I did some mock-ups, some 3D life-size little ones, and yeah, I don't know. I think for me, color just really clouds things. I think when I do color, it got too much and too messy, and I think I really loved the like maintaining that illustrative doodle kind of graphic world. So for me, it just made sense, and everyone I showed it to just loved it. They were like, "Yeah, just do black and white." So it was like pros and cons. It was like great. I only got two colors, like so I didn't have to overthink too hard. So then I could just think about design and shape. But yeah, I've got my little lady here.
Yeah, well, yeah. Explain that. Now, is that the one that you actually used in? So okay, so the
Yeah.
piece. See, I was trying to figure out when I was watching it. Part of me was like, how big are the pieces? Because you're having to film this. So, what type of scale do you use, knowing that you're gonna be filming, the stop motion?
Yeah, that's the crazy thing is like when you make your characters big, the sets have got to be even bigger. So she's probably about 25 centimeters tall or something about. So the sets were like a few meters wide and tall. Um, yeah, like at least like probably your arms outstretched twice was the length of my set. But it was really great. I was supported to have people help me build my sets. So I was just focusing on building this lady. She could turn her head. Oh, look at the camera.
What?
Yeah, so
What?
it's just
How many different pieces did you have to create for the whole film?
yeah. I mean, when you make a story about baggage, you have to make a lot, which was like, oh my god, no, I made a bad choice. Lots of pieces. So I ended up having. I was able to get away with just making two airport security characters, and then I was just able to I made separate heads for all the characters to make them look different and unique. But it's actually the same body. And then yeah, there's only one of each of the girls. I couldn't make multiples. So then I've got my three ladies, and then yeah, lots of different props and set pieces. Um, yeah.
That I mean, now tell me about because when I was looking at the fact that you only use black and white, there was another element that I really like, and there's that you created this texture effect for not only the characters but for the whole set. So what is that type of material to create that textured effect where it's not just flat?
Yeah, I mean that's probably unintentional. It's all just everything was hand painted, so I guess it could be a combination of just seeing that hand painted texture. I mean, well, on this character actually, she does have I textured it, so she's actually made out of wood, so she's fairly
Oh, I was going
lightweight.
to ask you because I'm looking at it. I'm thinking maybe it's some type of paper mache. So they're all
Yeah.
made out of wood.
They're all made of wood, so they're actually fairly sturdy. But then I kind of like in the wood, I drilled in the lines into her body. So yes, yeah, some of them do have that kind of texturing inbuilt on them.
That is so cool. And I love
Yeah.
the fact that you used, like you said, it's like the design is like a doodle.
Mm.
And it just worked in this film because you have it's a serious subject matter, but there's a lot of humor into the animation, but there's also a lot of humor because of all the things that you labeled inside the suitcase. So there's this
Yeah.
perfect balance in this film.
Yeah, I think comedy is really important to me. Like, I love to watch funny things, so that's what I always try to make is something funny. But I think for my goal for this one, I was like, I get it to be poignant? Can I make it emotional? So that was my biggest challenge on this project, and I think I might have done it.
Well, okay, you know, when you're dealing with characters in a film, um, are you testing, let's say, facial expressions on the characters?
Yeah, definitely. So I definitely did some tests before I started shooting. But yeah, for yeah, stop motion puppets, that means you're gonna build so that her mouth, her eyebrows, eyes, they all move independently. So I mean a lot, and when you do stop motion, you do a live action video reference. So I often would just film myself kind of posing a certain expression, and then as I'm animating, I was kind of, do you just follow that along a little, not 100%, but just using yourself as a guide. Okay, like, oh, when I was sad, my eyebrows did this. Yeah.
Well, I love the whole 3D effect that you created here. And even though it was black and white, there was nothing flat about any of the scenes. So how many frames did it take to achieve the desired effect of the film from beginning to end?
Yeah, so when I started the film, because I started shooting actually from the middle of the film with the conveyor belt. Um, and so I shot on ones, which is like, it's a lot of work. So it's like that's 25 frames for 1 second of animation. Because I found that the conveyor belt, I wanted it to look really smooth and it looked best on ones. In at Aardman, they actually shoot on twos, which is 2 frames per second. I was like, it's your 2 frames, so it's like 12 frames per second, sorry. And I think maybe as I got towards the end of film, I was running out of time. So I was like, okay, I have to shoot on 12 frames a second. But I think yeah, it's up to personal preference what you like. But I think for me, I like shooting on ones because I think, I don't know, I just like the look and feel of it. It can be a bit smooth and you can kind of be really sharp with your movements. But yeah, it was a journey along the way.
That is that's absolutely amazing. Um, how did you get into stop motion animation? Was there something that you had seen and went, I want to do that?
Yeah, I feel like it subconsciously bled into my brain. I In 2017, I did a working program in Walt Disney World. So I kind of from that point, I was just working at the theme park, but I think at that point, animation started to seep into my brain. And then I came home and I got very into Monty Python and Terry Gilliam, and I just thought this is funny. Oh my god, could I make something this funny maybe? And then from there, I don't know if you know like Jan Schwankmeyer, from Czechoslovakia. He's like quirky, weird objects doing strange things. So then I kind of, yeah, I went to university, studied animation, and just, yeah, got obsessed on trying different stop motion techniques. And yeah, it's kind of from there, yeah, I was obviously lucky enough to work on Adam Elliott's latest feature. That was a huge, exciting project to be a part of. And then, yeah, and then I was like, I think that after that, that kind of really gave me the confidence. I was like, okay, I've done someone else's film. I want to take a challenge on for myself. Yeah, I guess that's kind of my path.
Well, okay, so with your technique of stop motion animation, how does that differ with claymation?
Yeah, claymation is messy.
I bet.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely takes a different, like everyone says I'm patient. Like I would not describe myself as a patient person. I'm pretty impatient. But with clay, yeah, you have to, yeah, you're using alcohol to keep it clean and wipe away all the dirt and the fluff. Um, yeah, it's just a different look. And also I didn't do my characters make mumbles and groans, but they don't really talk. So it was kind of, I got away with that. Whereas, yeah, doing lip sync in clay animation, you've got all the replacement mouths, and you have to, yeah, you're constantly smoothing things over, making it look pretty. Um, oh, it's so beautiful. But I only had 6 months to film my project, and I knew as a one person animator team, I did not have enough time for clay, unfortunately.
Well, no, I mean the wood worked perfectly. So this whole film took you 6 months. So I was wondering, and since you've shown your main character to us today and how big the pieces are, how far away is the lens of the camera to film each of these shots?
Yeah, it really varied, just depending. Maybe sometimes as close as like 10 centimeters or up to like a meter away, just depending if I was, yeah, doing a close up or wide. Um, yeah, just kind of, and it was lots of experimenting. A lot of the time in stop motion, you just set the scene up. You might not actually have a shot in mind, but you just kind of put the camera, have a look. Is that kind of what I was going for? It's like playing with toys. You just keep moving them around until you feel like you're happy with it. So I guess that's like the benefit. It's like once you've made everything, then you can once you start filming, you can start playing around with shots and see what works. Like I definitely shot more than what was in the film. Like there was quite a few shots that got canned because they just like it didn't work, or it was like, but yeah, lots of experimentation there.
Well, it was so seamless from beginning to end. And you did such a brilliant job creating this whole story. And of course, the first thing that anybody notices right off the bat in this film is that it is in black and white, but not
Mm.
as in black and white film. It's black and white setting and the pieces and the whole doodle effect design was just brilliant. It worked. You can tell that the way that you created the 3D effect, you can see the separation from, the suitcases on a conveyor belt or going through the x-ray machine. So let me ask you this. Knowing that when we watch the film and we see all these different pieces, how did you create the x-rays?
Ah, the X-rays. So that's all just hand painters. So kind of back to me being originally a drawing painting artist. Yeah, so I just painted them up, and then in the computer, I kind of just composited them to move along to give the illusion of scanning. So that element, that's the what I think. Yeah, that's one element that's different to the rest of the film. But again, I think for me, I thought it looked funny, but it was in keeping with the world. It has like the immediate contrast. And I think it was really important for me as well when she goes in her scan, she's in the darkness, she's in the void. So hers was inverted. But yeah.
Well, yeah, that was the cool thing. The colors were inverted, and I even stopped the film so I could read all that was inside as her bag was being x-rayed. And
Mm,
but it was so cool because the effect of going from 3D to, I guess we'll call it 2D, and then
mm.
back, it was so seamless because as me being the audience, the bag is going through the x-ray machine, and those pictures are always flat, for the most part, and it just worked and it was seamless. So no one's going to go, oh, it's not 3D. No, oh, it's going through an x-ray machine. And so
Yeah,
it just worked. So I can see why,
mm.
because I was kind of wondering, I actually didn't even think about you doing that in a computer. I was thinking, okay, maybe she just painted it on something, maybe canvas or maybe a board, and then just took the camera and just panned it across.
Yeah, in the film, like I really tried my hardest to avoid too much stuff in the computer. That in stop motion, sometimes we use rigs, and that's just a way to hold up a puppet. So there's a few shots in the film where characters had rigs, and you just kind of clean that up and hide it. But yeah, mostly everything's done in camera. But yeah, the X-ray scenes all in computer. But I'm glad that it still flows and feels seamless. I think that's really important to me. I like to feel still part of the same world.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you get a chance to see Baggage, it's probably one of my favorite animated shorts that I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you
And
so much.
and I've seen some, and some of them I literally just scratch my head going, why? Or
Yeah.
what's the story? you may read the log line, but the log line doesn't match the animation. And some of them are just so fast paced in movement that I literally just kind of go blank. But yours was cool because it's causing your eyes to want to see every little thing.
Yeah, I think that's a cool thing is that you could come back to my film and just notice lots of other details and little things here and there. And yeah.
Let me ask you this because as you were filming the stop motion, and so do you go back looking at the camera monitor, or do you like put it in the computer and go, oh, I need to add a frame here?
Yeah, so actually we have a live view. So as you're animating, you can just constantly play back what you've been doing. Yeah, so sometimes you're animating and you think, oh God, I've gone too fast. Okay, I got to go delete a few frames, go back. Having all that control is absolutely amazing. So you can just, yeah, no need to go to the computer. As you're shooting, you're seeing exactly what's happening. Um,
What does
yeah,
it
back in
make
the old
you?
days, I can't even imagine on film. Like, just you have to shoot it, and good luck. You hope it works, but
Well, I was kind of wondering, did you go through there and like, oh, I don't like the look on that character's face. I need to draw a different emotion. Did you have to go back and do that?
oh, that's 100%. Like sometimes I feel like I need a few warm up takes. I might do like 3 or 4 takes, and I'm like, it's not working. And I get someone in to have a look. Like, what do you think? Um, yeah, or yeah. Sometimes I was like, the mouth like looks wrong. Like, is it? Yeah, 100%. You're doing multiple takes. I mean, as it was getting towards the pointy end of the project, I was like, okay, I just got to do this on take one. But I think by then I'd built up so much practice and momentum. I was like, I can do it. But yeah, in the start, it was just lots of practice and yeah.
Now, you're going to be shown at South by Southwest, correct?
Yeah. So that's my international premiere for Baggage.
Wow. What does that feel like to have your premiere at South by Southwest?
Oh, absolutely crazy. Like that's such a dream festival to be part of and to like have my film have its premiere there. I can't even. I'm just so excited. Doesn't feel real. So I'm off to Texas in 2 weeks. So yeah, no, just can't wait. It's going to be
Well,
and lots and I'm really excited to meet lots of other Australians at the festival. So that is going to be awesome and yeah.
I'll be the first to welcome you to Texas because I'm on the north side of Houston. So Austin, Texas is barely three hours away. And but yeah, South by Southwest to have your premiere there. I have another friend of mine whose feature film was an official selection last year at South by Southwest. So it's a very big deal. Now,
Mm.
have you done any test audiences to see what their reaction is to the film?
Yeah, so I've had a few test audiences back home. I don't know, but when I watch my own film, it's almost like my ears switch off and I can't hear people's reactions. It's really weird. Like I think I'm like, oh my God, are they liking it? Like I can't hear people's reactions. So, but from people's feedback, like everyone gives me positive feedback and responses. So I think they like it.
Well, what are some
I
of the
hope so.
things that they ask you about?
Yeah, I think everyone's just curious, like, how did you make this? Where did the idea come from? Kind of, yeah, lots of those similar questions. Yeah, and they just want to know, yeah, like, are you patient, Lucy? And I go, no, I'm not patient. And, um, no, they just want to know how I made it, and yeah, no, they all love it. Oh my gosh, I was the very first screening I had all my girlfriends in the audience, and then the house lights went up, and they were all crying, and I was like, oh guys, like that really meant the most to me having them there for that very first screening, and yeah.
Yeah, I see this film going a long way this year. It's just so original. I've never seen anything like it. Um, but you have to. I have to ask because I was so impressed that you worked on the award-winning music video "Speak to Me" for Pink Floyd. How did that come about?
Yeah, so they just announced an open competition to anyone in the world. So it was for their Dark Side of the Moon album. So there was 10 songs. So in the open call, it said pick one of the 10 songs and you make like it didn't have to be animation. It was oh no, it was sorry, it was animation. Can't. remember. And yes, but it could be whatever animation style. So like people submitted, 3D, 2D, a few stop motion entries. And I'd actually seen it all year, and I was like, oh, do I enter? Don't I? And I actually waited to November, and it was due New Year's Eve. So I basically gave myself 2 months with a team of friends who are just as crazy as me. And because I was like, I don't have any time, so I picked the shortest song. And actually, the opening song speak to me is less so a song, and it's more like clippings of audio and Foley, which actually I think really works for my style because it was like I could just it was a bit kind of clunky and strange, and yes, and then because I didn't have time, I was like, okay, well, let's do pixelation. So I built a bird head, and I got my friend dressed up, and it was so much fun to shoot. It was kind of a bit crazy, and then I think we waited 2 or 3 months. And then they were like, "You won." I was like, "What?" So I couldn't believe that. Actually, and I remember one of the main reasons I entered. Like, I love Pink Floyd, but one of the judges was Terry Gilliam. So for me, I was like, "Oh my God, Terry Gilliam's gonna see my work. I have to enter." So just knowing that he saw my work, oh my God, that's life achievement. I'm happy.
That is so cool. I mean, my favorite Pink Floyd song is "Comfortably Numb." Um,
Mm.
has the best ending guitar solo, probably next to the Eagles Hotel California. But what exactly is pixelation technique?
Yeah, so pixelation is the animation of real objects or people. So, like, essentially, I'd have my friend stand still like a statue, and then I'd come up to him and just like move his hand, take a shot, move his hand, take a shot. So I was basically he was the puppet. He was very patient. But yeah, so it's just a different approach. It's just kind of it's a way to kind of be resourceful using things you have, and it just gives a different look to animation, something a bit silly, and
So is
I
it,
guess they obviously liked it.
but so it is a type of stop motion?
Yes, it's a type of stop motion. So there's lots of it's been around since the beginning of film, really. Lots of famous directors. I don't know if you know, like Norman McLaren, I guess, is like kind of like the icon of pixelation. But lots of people have gone like I said before, Jan Schwankmeyer. In the animation world, it's a popular technique to experiment with here and there. So
Wow, that is, I mean, so I guess the members of Pink Floyd got to watch it.
I mean, I hope so. So I
So
guess
where did it
someone liked
air?
it.
So where did they
So
show it?
it all screened online. So it was a fully online YouTube broadcast. So they announced them in order, and because mine was the first song on the track, it got announced first. So it was live on their YouTube channel, and so now it just lives online. So it's there forever. And I did a little interview, and
I'm gonna have to look that up now since it's on YouTube. I'm gonna have to check that out. And so then you mentioned earlier that you worked on Memoir of a Snail in 2023, which was Oscar nominated. Um,
Mm.
so what's it like working with another director?
Really exciting. Yeah, actually, it was so cool to see someone else just be in the zone, how they work, how they communicate with a team, how they try to get their vision across. Just so that was a huge exciting process, and just seeing because I'd only ever done short projects, to see how do you make a feature, and especially stop motion feature, how does it work? So that was like it was cool. Like essentially, it's just having a bigger team. If you have a bigger team, you could make a feature. Obviously, there's lots more to it, but yeah.
Wow. Now, I want to ask you something about South by Southwest because I went online, I was on IMDb, and your film, of course, you're making your world premiere at South by Southwest. And it was listed as being nominated for a grand jury award. How do they do that before the festival?
Yeah, I think in the animation category, there's two awards. I think there's like the jury award, and then there'll be an audience award. So I think we're just probably automatically like because we're in the festival, we're already like alleged, like yeah, we can, I guess, potentially win it. So
Well, it's so funny because I've talked to other animators and I've seen animations where it takes 6 months to 10 months to 2 years to complete a film. And when I'm talking to people who are doing live action with actors and they say, "Oh, we filmed it in 4 or 5 days," but then animation just takes forever. But you did this particular film, Baggage, completely by yourself?
yeah, so I did a lot by myself, but I actually did have a team. So I filmed it in 6 months, and then I did all my post production in another 6 months. So essentially, the film did take a year. But yeah, so when I was making the film, I had people to help me build the puppets or give their advice, or I had people to cut. I had a DOP do support me in camera and lighting. And when I even in the script development stage, I had the story, but I wasn't really sure of how things go. Having my producer give advice. So I had in that kind of development phase, the production phase, I did have support. And then in the post stage, I've had composers. I've had all the color grade. I've had all the sound mix. So I've had other people come in, but anything, I guess, animation, all the design, the look of it all, that was all me.
I was wondering about the coloring because being black and white, I was thinking, how did you choose the type of lighting you needed because of the white? But then you were also able to adjust all of that in post, I guess.
Yeah, like what? There are so many shades of white. Like it's that was like you're like, oh, this will be easy, but actually it's really hard because then you're gonna start color matching, and you're like, oh, well, that's a green white, and that's a yellow white, and blue, like, and you start seeing all the variations. That was really tricky. We tried our best with the DOP to keep the lighting consistent in camera. That look, I don't know if you could pick up on it. For me, there definitely are in the film moments where the color it doesn't exactly match, but I think it's close enough. But
Yeah, I didn't notice the change, and because the color comes across as very, very neutral, and you're right. I mean, like I had bought my daughter white roses. People don't realize how hard it is to find a true white because they have that. Some of them have that yellow tone. There's a green tone. There's a slight pink to them, and to find a true white is extremely difficult. And by a miracle, I found real true white without any variation of color. And it's kind of like if people they're going to paint the walls inside their house white, but how many shades of white you have to go through to find the right one?
yeah, actually, there's even a joke in the film when one of the friends goes through baggage. It says 100 shades of white. That was my little joke to that because it did become was like, oh my god, it's never ending.
I can't even imagine the things that you had to figure out and put up with. But I have this. What type of camera did you use?
Oh gosh, that feels very technical. It was a Canon. I couldn't tell you exactly, but yeah, just so we do stop motion with regular like a SLR style camera. And then you can have a live feed from that camera, hook up to computer software. So not too expensive. I think probably the more expensive things are the lens, but I couldn't tell you what the lens is. Um, yeah. So yeah, not film live action style cameras at all.
Oh yeah, I was kind of wondering. I mean, even here talking to you, I'm using a Canon DSLR.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was using.
Well, that's pretty cool because you don't have to use overly expensive camera equipment because most of the work is going to be what's in front of the camera anyway, and that's what you've got to truly work with. So,
Well, essentially, my film is just a series of really nice photos. So that's kind of what stop motion is. So as long
well,
as you have a
yeah,
good photo
but
camera.
well, yeah, it's like taking a pad of paper and drawing your little characters on the edge, and then just flipping through them and watching them move. We used to do that in school all the time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So I guess all of us have a little bit of an animator inside of us.
Yeah, that childhood part, always there, the animator.
I just love this. And ladies and gentlemen, the animated short Baggage. It's about three girlfriends who check in their baggage at the airport, but one is carrying a little more than the others as they travel along the conveyor belt to security. But can she hide what's inside? Now, Lucy Davidson's charming stop motion animated short is a comedic but poignant film that explores female friendship and the emotional weight that true friends help carry through life. Baggage was selected for the London International Animation Festival and Flickerfest and won the Best Animated Short at the Peninsula Film Festival, and it will be making its international premiere at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. And so I expect to see this film make great strides through the film festival circuit this year, because it is something that you absolutely have to see. So if you are attending any film festival and Baggage is on the docket and going to be in an animated block, make sure you are sitting in the theater to see this film. You're going to fall in love with it just like I did. And Lucy, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your incredible animated film. And what is it? Does she have a name?
She doesn't have a name, I know. She's just Lady. She's
I love
no,
it.
no
And
name.
she's the star of the film.
Yeah, exactly. She's the star.
Well, Lucy, thank you again so much for sharing this incredible film. And ladies and gentlemen, like I said, if you're attending a film festival and Baggage is there, you need to sit in the theater and you got to pay attention to this film because it is just absolutely amazing to watch. So as for me, ladies and gentlemen, you're either going to see me at the movies or from the red carpet.